Let's do a quick overview of the Maimer. And if you can answer the questions, because we've learned the whole thing, that'll be nice. So the first question is, why Shuvah Yisroel and not Shuvah Yaakov? What's the answer to that? In word? Because we're not talking about the low level of Shuvah. On Chatoy. Hence it's Shuvah Yisroel. Now the second, that's the Kitzah, the fact. Then Koim Machim Dvarim, the Shaila there was, that's referring to Vidui. So Koim Machim, take with you, sounds like it's secondary, and Vidui is not secondary, it's primary. For the reasons he gives, that Tzemach Tzedek, that Vidui is what destroys the actual body of the sin. So how could it possibly be something secondary? What's the answer to that? Same the Kudus. Since we're talking about Shuvah Ilah, we're not talking about Vidui. It's not Vidui here. What's the Koim Machim Dvarim here is that this Shuvah Ilah should then manifest itself in the Evarim, naturally and flow and express itself in all the Ivari Aguf. That's a natural outcome. It's not a secondary. Because once there is the unit of Shuvah Ilah, so what just happened here? Come have a look at this. Adam. Perry got on and I was banished to the corner of the screen. Banished to severe. All right, okay. So let's we'll see that there. Let's move through it quickly. So to understand this, he brings the mind of the Rebbe Marash, who brings the pasuk Mikil Kamoicha. Nois Ovin Voivid Apesha L'She'edis Nachalasa. The Gemara says, what's the She'edis? The Mishamesim Atzma Kishirayim, that the forgiveness is only for those who make themselves as Shirayim. What was the Shaila on that?
Why just for some? Why just for some? Why is it dependent?
Why not? If you don't deserve it, you don't get it. Why shouldn't it be?
Because it's
the diuk is that since what?
The level, it's from Yigimum Mizarachmim, it should be for everyone. It's beyond the
whole point. The whole point to give me the Sarachmim is that it's bligvol and it's unconditional. How the conditions. The shail is only on this, you'd give me the Sarachmim, not Stam Rachmim. So Tzemach Tzedek gives three reasons why you have to have this bittul. Bekitza, the first one is, since the revelation comes to us in our world, b'medida v'hagbola, it comes to our world. It's a bit. Truth is, it's not so clear. This was explanation. It's not so saying that it's bligvul. So you need to have a keli, your relative bligvul, like moitcha. That's really the first. Actually, it's two parts to the answer. That's the first part of the answer. That every revelation has to be in some way. It's stuck a bligvul. So you got to do your bligvul. What's your bligvul is bittul. Why is bittul bligvul? The opposite. Bligvul is going this way. Bittul is going this way, inward. Why is bittul the keli for bligvul? Because bittul is fundamentally unnatural. It's not, our nature is not bittul. Our nature is expression and mitzias and yeshes. So being small is our bligvul. That's going beyond our limit. Putting self aside, that does not come instinctually or naturally, as we are all only too aware. That's the first lakuda. Then he says, "Lohayir kirdua." So the first lakuda is It's got to be be'erech. So it's blikvul, you're blikvul. The second thing is that the Eibishter, even the Resus de Le'ela, which is completely not dependent on our Avodah, says the Zoya needs asar shlim. It's quoted often in Chassidus, but the number 21 in the text needs a whole place. And then he says, why? Because every Gilui comes b'medidiv agbola, shitif imay. It's the world is made with a combination of midas rach and midas adin. So therefore, there has to be your keli. He stresses din over here. V'nimtzu she'es ktsas midas adin, but the racham is goiver, and therefore by the Adam, 4 lines to the bottom, there has to be achona that can be mekabel the rachamim. There also has to be the aspect of midas adin, and that's amazing. It's not 100% clear, but that's the first explanation. The second one, not to me, anyway. Second explanation is what? There shouldn't be nikki chitzonim. The third explanation is there shouldn't be blocked. Right, gimel. So that's sheis nachalosai shirayim. And this is the hemshech to the previous maimim and ameitza. From an ameitza, that brings to the merchav ko, merchav atzmi, the essential broadness of the Eibishter. That's mereshis hashona rosha betchilasa Yisroel oisin atzman roshin. He didn't make themselves poor, even though they're not, but they make themselves. And he added here that this is especially connected to someone to tell me here. It's an important point at the end of Eis Gimel, first paragraph. Yeah, end of Eis Gimel, especially connected to Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because Rosh Hashanah is what? Fill in the blank. Rosh Hashanah is two words. Two words. Binyan HaMalchus. And and he translates that. Moshe Kosov. What's Binyan HaMalchus? Moshe Begashmi it was the first Rosh Hashanah in history. The first Rosh Hashanah in history was Binyan HaMalchus. Kipshuta. What happened? Right there. Number 37. You're not looking at it. The Eibishter built Chava, Malchus, Vayiven es Hatzela. That was Rosh Hashanah. Adam and Chava created Rosh Hashanah. So what's Malchus? Malchus less than Klum. Oni. So I asked this question, we talked about it, let's review it again. I'm asking you, how do you explain Bittel in terms of God's Malchus? Mele our Bittel to make the Eibishter king, yes. Mele, if you disconnect Malchus from God, okay, Malchus is the channel, it's Bittel that receives the highest vidus. But the Gilstut is sitting here and he's talking about God's kingship. God's monarchy, God's sovereignty. What's Bittel there? The people, yes, I understand. But in the Eibishter, God, talking about God. What does it mean, Bittel? Where's the Bittel? The answer is the greatest Bittel. Dino?
That there's another, that he creates and makes room for another to begin with. But instead he makes space.
Right, the whole act of creation is the greatest act of Bittel, but more than that even. That's creation. This is here. Creation is creation. This is here making the Eibishter king. This is more. It's a whole new level.
That is dependent on that his malchus is dependent on the ratzon of the It's dependent on us. For him to be king, we need a crowning king.
He made himself vulnerable, you're saying? Okay, good. Yeah, what you're saying is correct. the bittul lies not only in the act of creation, and not only that we are the ones that are ma'oder the rotzen l'mlocha, but what's the net result? The net result is everything that he is, he now gives to us. It's all for us. Not just him as creator, beyond creator. Atzmos. That you're saying, that we are ma'oder it, and that he gives himself over. This is hanosi hakoyel. The parallel is in the nosi lamata, the melech lamata. That hanosi hakoyel is even that aspect that he's a nosi, that he's totally beyond the people, that he also gives of. His whole life is the people. The Eibishter's whole metzias kavayachal is a yid. It's all he's concerned with, obsessed with, to the core of his being. Is my little mitzvah your little mitzvah? Not little, therefore makes it everything. Okay, that's the bittul of Malchus mitzad Eibishter. It's the greatest bittul possible. Whatever bittul we express. Okay. We mentioned, we learned this ois that the Rabbi, he's speaking about the Isha, she's the, that's her. We see Pasha Begashas by the woman, the mother, as the Balabosta. She's Malchus. The whole life is the husband of the kids. For him, it's something that he also does. He's also a father. He's also a husband. He has other responsibilities. He's a provider. He's a big chassid, and he's always all kinds of stuff that he does. But whole metzius is the family. He's the bias. As Rabbi Yossi said, he called his wife, never called her Ishti, but Beisi. That's Malchus. Less of a klum. A whole metzius is her children, husband and children. That's Rosh Hashanah, that's Avodah Bittul, Binyan HaMalchus, Dalet. Yesh L'hoisif, Tfilah L'ani. Oh, so he goes into what? Moishe Rabbeinu and David HaMelech. The two Pirushim. And it was clear. There's Pirush Aleph in the beginning of Beis Dalet, and Pirush Beis in Beis Dalet. The first Pirush, the Shaila was, why does David, what was the Shaila, friends? What's the tzarich love in the Beis Daled?
He's a chassid, why is he Ani?
Sorry?
He's a chassid, why is he calling himself Ani?
The answer is a whole hemshach hamayim, but that's the Ma'ir Dafkin Bittul. Correct. Now, Tfilah Ki Yatov, then he brings the Zohar. Now the Zohar, the first Pirush, I'll just tell it to you. The first Pirush says like this. It says Tfilah La'ani, that's David HaMelech, and then Moishe Rabbeinu says Tfilah La'Moishe. They use the same language. They're equal. V'adarab, before the Eibishter, they're equal. Even though Moishe is Tfilah Osher, not Tfilah Ani. And Begashmish is wealthy. Again, he got wealthy from the quarry of the second set of Luchos. That's the mile of Shuvah V'chulu. That's in brackets, not the emphasis on the Maimeh here. But the Zohar says they're equal. V'adarab, what's the end of the first paragraph? Not only they're equal, actually, that Tfilah La'ani is greater. Where do we see this? Says the Zohar that Tfilah La'ani is what? Tefillin Shel Yad, which we put on first. That's the weaker hand. That's the Ani. That's one Pirush. So, if I'm learning Pshat correctly, the first Pirush is that the Zohar equates the two. The second Pirush is that in Moshe Rabbeinu Gufa, we see the equanimity of Aniyas and Ashiras. Why? Because he says Zeh Oni Korah. Zeh goes on Moshe, and Oni goes on Moshe. Why does Zeh go on Moshe? The word Zeh is superfluous. It goes on Moshe Rabbeinu. But why does Zeh go on Moshe Rabbeinu? This. Footnote 54 in the text. Kizeh Moshe Ish. Moshe is called Zeh, this. We explained why. Because Zeh is Gilui. Moshe is all about Gilui Likus. That means you point with a finger. You say, this is it. Zeh Elokeinu, Kivinu Levi Yisheinu. Zeh, Mara Betz B'vayim Zeh. So Moishe is there at the same time Ba'ani. Even though he was an Osher, he was also B'tachlis HaBittel. How was he B'tachlis HaBittel? Because he made the first level. He made the cheshbon. If somebody else would have his koiches, they'd be equal or better. So this is all Eisin Atzman Rosh. This is all a bittul that's induced by a legitimate consideration and meditation, but not bittul be'etzah. However, there's a deeper bittul. The Mittel Rebbe says the bittul of the real poor person. He needs in his bonus to be tzibrochen. As soon as he's aware that he's poor, that's what he means. I have it. He's tzibrochen. Yivke b'mar nafshe, he cries bitterly. So, how could there be such a bittul by Moishe and by David? And the end of the Maimer, friends, I wasn't Meirich Shabbos, but the end of the Maimer, the Rebbe says the Shaykh is to us. And he does it, we'll see in the end, not in the way of David and Moishe. So what's the real bittul by David and Moishe? Where is it? You tell me, where's the real bittul? The emes of bittul by Moishe Rabbeinu. And then he says by David. Have a look at it. Take a few moments. We still got some time here. Medavchas the Maimer. There's no alternative. There's no. No. Ice.
The end of his life. At the end of Moshe's life.
So what happened?
Lost all of the secrets of the Torah. He lost all the secrets of the Torah.
Yeah, what's the lashon? So everything blocked. So he was betachlis a bit. What's the paradox?
Nevoy. He got the highest level.
Dafka there. What's that?
Nunboy. The highest level of.
Which is?
I don't know.
Har nevoy, nun boy, the word of the Magid. It's the Magid's word. That Har nevoy is the Sharach HaMishim. And the Sharach, so what do we see, by the way? Obviously, the Sharach HaMishim is not intellectual appreciation. Sharach HaMishim is a likus mamish. But he was zoicha to that, dafka when the end of his life, which is the culmination of his whole life. So he was mamish, but meitzar mamish. And the Lashon here, he quotes the Mittel Rebbe again, that Yivke, Bacha Yivke. So that was Tfilas, that was the Zeh Oni Korea. When was that B'Shleimus? Till then, it was through his bonus. He was Takel B'Tachlis HaShiflus and Bittel. But that was induced through an appreciation. And he was naturally the highest dargit. And what about David the Melech? Where do we see by David the Melech also? This avodah of mamish, of not through his bonus, but the mitzias.
When he was running away from Avshalom.
Mid by Yehuda, what does he say?
Yeah,
he's thirsting, he's longing, he's banished. I was banished from stepping over the threshold of the Mishkan. I was driven away from stepping over into the inheritance of God, referring to the Mishkan and Shiloh. He was driven away. And then he says, Halavai, Cain B'Kodesh. Who's the simple touch of Cain B'Kodesh is what? Not that. What's Cain? Pashut Pshat.
I should be able to return there.
Yeah, I should be able to, I'm hoping to be there one day. Baal Shem Tov's touch in the word Cain. Halavai, Cain B'Kodesh Chazis. I don't have to tell you, friends, the Rebbe sang this niggin. This was one of the most awesome moments that we experienced in the later years. In one notable Fabrengen, the Rebbe couldn't say the words. And then he said, I won't read the whole story now.
Which words?
Nafshi Chvaydi.
He couldn't say Cain B'Kodesh? Which words could he not say?
One year he said, Lilis Nafshi Chvaydi was Chai Elul. Chayela Tavshin Lamed Ches, I think it was. Anyway, it's a whole story, but there was, I remember hearing it. It was a hookup. It was in Miami. First, he stumbled. Then the words just came out. But so there was a reaction in the world and a hemshech to that story. Don't bring it up. Remind me. Chalk it up for Fabrengen. It's not to be broadcast. Those who mocked it paid very dearly. But there was a big chassid, Velvel's great uncle, the Berkechein, it was a Beinani from Tanya. It was a Beinani from Tanya. It was rare people that ever told to put on 4 pairs of tefillin. You've seen these videos of him. Look at his face, it was enough. But we spoke about this. This is Gilul Lukus, this, I don't know what the words he used there, but Mashiach, this is anyway, okay. So Ois Vav. Oh, so but he just finished saying that by David the Melech and Moishe Ben was the emes oni, then he says it can also be by us. How is that? How is that? This is the main part of the Maimon, really. The Rebbe is giving this over to us. And the Kudah is, let's have a look at it. That's Shabbos Shuvah. That's Shabbos Shuvah. What's Shabbos Shuvah? When do you need Meisim Atzmik Yishirayim? So when it comes to Shabbos Shuvah, you only need it for the 3rd level because it could get blocked. That's it. Not for the problem of Inigi Chitzonim and the first explanation. Because it could be Nachla over Al Nafshenu. It's not Nimshich B'Pnimius. So therefore you have to have the bittul. So what's his point? Since the need for bittul is not because anything negative, could go the wrong place, or the first explanation that you've got to be somewhat of a keli again. The first explanation is not sure. Akopone, what's the point? You say, look, help me here. Have a look at it at the end of Yisroel. Since the whole need on Shabbos is the Pnimius, so therefore this is a real bittul. It's not an induced one. Not Meisem Atzmai. Shirayim Mamish. And this is Shabbos Shuvah. So since the whole avodah of Shabbos Shuvah is connected with Shuvah, Shabbos is Toshuv. This is the highest argus in Shuvah. Shuvah Ilah. And there was whole beautiful arichas here. The Shuvah Ilah comes dafka after Shuvah Tato. That's why we say Tachanun after Shmones, not the beginning of the davening. And why we even say Chatonu in Shmones? That's the first question. He's just coming after the whole avodah of Kirishma, now Chatonu. And in Tachanun. Because Adarabah. Before davening, he was Ishi Yoshe Beinov. He was, the Rebbe says here, since he doesn't do Averis of Pel Mamish, and he does mitzvahs, and he's a tzaddik gomer. But through davening, so what's the nukut of the answer over here? This is a bittul. What's the nukut of the answer? The whole point is explained. This is not Eisen Atzmi Shirayim, but really B'Pnimius. Why? Because you're so close. Dafka going through the rungs of tefillah, comes to Shmonesek after Kamamara like a surf before the master. Then he sees he's so far because he's now so close. Therefore, Slachlonu. So likewise, Shabbos Shuvah, since it's the highest madregas of Shuvah, so the Meisim Asmi Kishrayim, the bittul is the loftiest level. Not that he makes him, but Shirayim Mamish. It's a bit vague.
The same Nikud as the same Nikud as the previous Maimon.
Yeah. The face of Atzmos. In Yira is bonus. It's the same. It seems that's the Nikud. Hemshech to the Rosh Hashanah Maimon. When he's talking in the face of a new madrega, you need his bonus. Where am I holding? Where I want to get? And he's pining for that. And he's bottled, he has to get to this level of a greater shleimus. I'm not talking shleimus here. Shirayim Mamish. And it doesn't need, there is a hisbonenus here. It's an awareness, but not an awareness based on levels that I am, levels to attain, but just an awareness of where I'm at, where am I standing? Like the Oni, he has to be aware, that he's poor. He has to, like you said, he has to chabtzach, and he's subrach. So it's more like Moshe Pinchas Katz, the Rabbi used to say, to bang the table, 770 before davening. At the end of davening, he made the announcements, and we should remember where are you standing, before whom you stand. Wo man steht und von wem man steht. That was it. So just that awareness and ganz a bit without any adrabah, because of where you're standing. Because it's Shuvah. Look what the Rebbe is doing here. Because we're speaking about Bafabeng and Shabbos. Moishe Rabbeinu David HaMelech. That bittul is Nistim Menamayonis Mesiris Manis Chachma. David HaMelech is in Midbar Yehuda. And the Rebbe grants this to us. This level opens it up to us and makes it accessible. But the Besimcha, Shabbos Shuvah, the highest levels. Doesn't want us to go through this Midbar Yehuda and blockages for Chulu. That's the Rebbe. We were saying about the Fabring and Shabbos. I know you weren't here. That, what's a Maimer? And the Rebbe's Maimer. The Rebbe is a great genius and Magale Chedushim, and then explains like no one ever did, and it's all true. About what's Torah. We're learning Torah at a very sophisticated, profound, unprecedented level. That's true. But Be'emes and Maimer is the biggest office Yisroel. This is what's going on here. That the highest madregas, connection atzmos, every maimer that have been laborers, it's mamshech. Here, my child, it's for you. It's all. Every maimer is the biggest love, the biggest, deepest love possible. Zion. So this is Shuvah Yisroel, that after the Avodah is answering the questions now, not Shuvah Yaakov. Because Adrab, it's coming on after Elul and Slichas and the holding by the beginning of Yisroel. He's finished with sin, been there, done that, not so exciting. He's left it all behind. So what's left? Chashalta, a little stumble. That's all. He explains it as something, negligible. It still has to be Shuvah Yisroel. Adrab, Davke, because he's holding at this darge erste tshuva. Because where is he? He's face to face with Eibishter, as it were. And that adds another ad avaylikecha. Ad here means not a limit on the entree in your taich. Nitzchis, it's eternal. That's the ad over here, as in Leilam Void. He doesn't bring that, but Niyavar Leishanisi. So we're not talking about, so here the Choy Mochem Devarim, therefore, is not vidui for sins. Beyond that. That's the low, he did that already in the low level of tshuva. This is Pnimiyas Alev. So what are the words over here? Here the words are that the Pnimiyas Alev just express itself in the words, in all the limbs of the body. That's what the Choy Mochem, and that's secondary, because it starts here and it goes there. And it's a natural consequence. So it comes down in dibur, in words. And that's the Eibishter's words. And that was a big thing at the end of the Maimer. Bidvar melech shilton, that the king rules with words. What's that refer? Not Yidden. Shlita. Shlita as in the shilton. That's the nations of the world. Bal korcham. Moishe, shilton memshala. Yid is malchus ibrasin kibla aleya. Starting with the Eitzahara. The Eitzahara doesn't need explanations. It needs strong words. Like the Rebbe said, a patch on the table, and this is the way it is. It just so belongs to us, and there's no explanations required. It's the Holy Land. They don't need explanations or even understand it. It just has to be said. And that's so. Therefore, it comes down all the way down. This tshuva, he's saying, this deep tshuva, this reaffirmation that I'm a yid, the one with Abish to express itself in the yid with the effect in the world of God's spoken word. As a yidus, starting with his own self, with his own Yitzhahara, and then till it manifests the Gashmius and all that's required. It should be a lebedike yod or a gesunte yod, a lively and a healthy year. The Bona Chaim is in the Revicha, Naches, health, and Panos and abundance. Let's look at the overview. Mamish in a few brushstrokes. You have the page and table in front of you. 3 reasons why the Darga of Oiver al Pesha, Gimel Serachem Me'oni, comes to Bittul. Number 1, there has to be some relative measure from the recipient. 2, it should only go to Kedusha and not to Klippah. 3, it shouldn't remain blocked. What's the Maila Bittul of making yourself like remnants? That's Bittul. That's the Keli for the highest revelations. That's the Maila Tfilas Oni, Ben Ameitza, Rasha B'Tchilasa. That brings the Merchava Atzmi. And that's why David HaMelech Tfilah La'oni, and Moishe Rabbeinu, even there was an Osher, Asa Atzmai, made himself like a poor. Zel Nikora, Vashem Shemeya. But then there's not only they made themselves mamish. That's Moishe Rabbeinu, the blockage of the Mercedes, Mayanas HaChachma, the well springs of wisdom, and David HaMelech, the added sea of Oyef in a thirsty, tired and thirsty land. And that's also our Avodah. It's not only Kushirayim, but Mamashirayim. And when is that? That's Shabbos Shuvah. Dafka, because you're holding the highest Madregas. Dafka, because as it were facing the Eibush himself. Meis Master Kushirayim. So that's all we need is to be considered with the 3rd level, because there's no unique chitzonim here. The guy is on target. He's not singing anymore. He's beyond Shuvah Tato. The first 2 considerations are the problem. There is the avodah, and it's going in the right place. Only thing is, it could remain makif. So it's got to be a primius. So the primius is the primius bracha. Bittul. Standing in front of the melech. Doesn't need his bonus. And that's the avodah of Shabbos Shuvah. And then it concluded, and therefore it's Shuvah Yisroel, not Shuvah Yaakov, and that's why it's Ad Nitzchias. And that's the Kurim and Dvar. That's not Vidur, that's just bringing it down into the world, the words. Dvar, Melech, Shilton, and then manifesting itself in the Lebedikiyar and the Gezunti of everyone. Okay, friends, the next Maimer, everybody's invited at 8:45 to the Medina Sukkah. I looked at beautiful Maimer. And as the whole theme, Halul Hashem Kol Goyim, effect on the world. And Sukkos, it's all there. Everything is there. Very beautiful.
Do you have copies already? I'd like to bring one home if you have.
Copies are here. You can take one here now, right here. And Beis Hashem, we'll learn it there. Okay. Psudas Toivas, and a good Erev Yom Tov and a good Yom Tov.